Well, if someone you love goes missing, you want answers.
New at 10, Shannon Sims is here to give us a rare look inside a lab that helps many desperate families get the answers and the closure they need.
That's right, George. Putting a face on human remains can be a daunting task for police with few clues. When authorities need help with DNA recovery, most in Wisconsin turn to one lab out of state. Well, I traveled to Texas for a behind-the-scenes look at how these DNA detectives operate. It was last December when a family walking along the shoreline of Lake Michigan came across a decomposing body.
This was what we believe is the thermal shirt, long sleeve.
Suited up in hazmat gear, Kenosha County detectives began the painstaking process of putting the pieces together.
It was basically just bones.
The skull and hands were missing. That made a positive ID more challenging. With few clues, Kenosha turned to one of the nation's foremost forensic labs for help. The body traveled nearly 1,000 miles to Fort Worth, Texas. Behind these secured doors is the Center for Human Identification at the University of North Texas. Inside, I saw firsthand how forensic scientists extract DNA from human remains to unlock the mystery and give faces to the unidentified dead.
Back in the mid-'80s, there was no DNA technology.
Bruce Badoli is the director of the forensic unit at UNT's Health Science Center. The former FBI scientist has been called the godfather of DNA research.
Now we have, the blood stains the size of a dot, touch samples where you can't even see the material gives results.
The lab estimates it received more than 2,000 DNA samples last year alone. 70% of those samples were from out of state. The lab has protocols in place to prevent contamination.
We also have DNA profiles of everybody who works in the facility.
Because of the sensitive nature, we could only view the work through a glass window. Here, forensic scientists extract DNA from a partial jawbone and leg fragment. Once the DNA has been extracted, the sample is mixed with chemicals in a test tube and placed in what can simply be called a DNA Xerox machine. The machine produces billions and billions of copies of genetic markers from the remains.
So when you see a GG, that means that's a certain type. So it could be AA, GG, GC, because there are 4 letters to the DNA code.
The lab provides its service free of charge. Recent cuts in federal funding, though, put out-of-state cases in jeopardy.
Whenever we send a case as an extreme circumstance,
the Milwaukee County Medical Examiner's Office counts on this lab to help solve tough missing persons cases.
In 2 cases we've sent for DNA testing, that has actually helped render it a positive identification.
With no funding for UNT's lab to process out-of-state cases, agencies here in Wisconsin will have few options, if any.
This University of North Texas is a special place, and it'll be unfortunate for law enforcement throughout the country.
But the biggest losers may be the families of those unidentified waiting for resolution. Bruce Badoli says that the university could consider charging, but that is not what they want to do. He has said the mission has always been to make this valuable service free of charge.
So how many cases have they helped solve for Wisconsin agencies?
So since 2009, the lab has helped successfully match more than 20 unidentified and missing person cases in our state.
Wow. Quite the progress, that's for sure. Thank you, Shannon.
Thanks, Shannon.